think she leaves, she leaves in 2 weeks. Well, on February the 6th, I believe. And then she's going to be gone, maybe, I think, a week. I don't think it's I don't think it's one of their longer trips, which, I think Uncle Rick probably, this is on video, so everybody's hearing this. Uncle Rick probably said, this is how long I can tolerate. But because at this time, they don't think Aunt Tina's going to be able to go, so it's just going to be her, Uncle Rick, and Aunt Joy. But Uncle Rick is going on Princess, and Uncle Rick is really excited because this is a trip where they're not going to have their kids, because their kids both are working. So that's he's happy about that. It's just going to be something for him to relax. And I asked Grandma, so well, why did he go on Disney? She goes, because with Disney, there's just a lot of kids, a lot of action, whereas this is all about relaxing, because you're busy. You want to be able to just turn everything down. But we are starting Matthew chapter 28, and this is the last chapter of Matthew. So after these lessons I have done, which are about 3 altogether, is what I think it comes down to. Then we get to start our lessons on world religions. So I'm excited about that. Getting all my materials together, getting ready. So yay! But we're starting in Matthew chapter 28, starting with verse 1. It says, "In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow." We're speaking about Mary Magdalene and the other Mary coming to the tomb. They came to finish the preparation of Jesus' body, which was cut short by the Sabbath. So after the Sabbath on Sunday, the first day of the week, they came to the tomb, fully expecting to find the dead body of Jesus. Matthew describes a great earthquake. The earthquake did not cause the stone to be rolled away. If anything, the angelic rolling of the stone prompted the earthquake. Trapp would write about this earthquake. The earth shook both at Jesus' passion and at his resurrection. Then to show that it could not bear his suffering, now it shows that it could not hinder his rising. Some think it was not a normal earthquake, but refers to the disturbance of the guards at the tomb. Seismos, a shaking or commotion of any kind, probably the word means no more than the confusion caused among the guards by the angel's appearance. All this had taken place before the women reached the sepulchre, as written by Clark. They said it's also possible it really wasn't a traditional earthquake. As I said, the word actually used, being seismos, means any type of shaking. And that these people could have been so dumbfounded they fell over as if they were shaken to their feet. Which I would, I guess, seen an angel appear.
Yeah.
Like I said, raiment white as snow. He uses tie. They use tie to do the cleaning. Not angel soft tie. And then with like an appearance like the lightning coming down from the heavens. That would be very scary. And it was so dramatic that they probably were knocked to their feet. But they said that it could be an earthquake. It may not. It doesn't matter. The fact is, what happened right after the resurrection itself. When the women came to the tomb, they saw the stone rolled away and an angel sitting on the stone. The door to the tomb was wide open. Indeed, there needed not any angel at all to remove the stone. If this had been all he had come down for, he that was quickened by the Spirit could by the same power have rolled away the stone. But as if it was fit that the angels who had been witness of his passion should also be the witnesses of his resurrection. In other words, Jesus didn't need the stone to be rolled away. He could have literally just snapped his fingers and it probably disintegrated it, or with a perfected body, he could just pass through it. It was there basically for the people to see. And so the angels could bear witness saying, Jesus has risen. The stone that closed the body of Jesus' tomb had been like the gate of a prison cell, trapping the body of Jesus in the grave, now became a place of rest as the angels sat on it. Moving to verse 4. And for fear of him, the keepers did shake and became as dead men. And the angel said unto the women, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord lay. The Roman soldiers responsible for guarding the tomb were terrified. The angelic presence made these professional soldiers tremble and faint. It does not appear to have drawn a flaming sword, nor even to have spoken to the keepers, but the presence of perfect purity overawed these rough legionaries. In other words, it wasn't because this person was super frightening or had swords and weapons and a great army. It was the awe-inspiring sight of the angel that made these men quake and faint. The resurrection of Christ is subject of terror to the servants of sin, and subject of consolation to the sons of God, because it is a proof of the resurrection of both. The one to the shame and everlasting contempt, the other to eternal glory and joy. For the first time, the followers of Jesus, these faithful women, heard what they did not expect to hear. They heard that Jesus was not in the tomb, but risen to resurrection life. There are several examples in the Bible of people being resuscitated before this, such as the widow's son in the days of Elijah, as written in 1 Kings chapter 17:17-24, and Lazarus in John chapter 11:38-44. Each of these was resuscitated from death, but none of them were resurrected. Each of them was raised in the same body they died in, and raised from the dead to eventually die again. Resurrection isn't just living again. It is living again in a new body, based on our old body, perfectly suited for life in eternity. Jesus was not the first one brought back from the dead, but he was the first one to be resurrected. And I was talking to Grandma and Mom Friday, as we were going down to the cemetery. I said that, what is the difference between being raised from the dead and being resurrected? And they both, of course, like, I don't know. Is there a difference? I said, there is a difference. I learned it in my lesson. I learned it in my lesson this week. I said, because, being raised from the dead means that you're still in the same body and you will die again. But being resurrected means your body has been transformed into the perfect body, like Jesus is. And they go, oh my gosh, I've read probably through that multiple times and never once thought about it. I'm like, yeah. I said, that's what's so wonderful about these lessons, is because they point out details of a lot of things that we miss as we're studying. We should also say that Jesus still is risen. He ascended into heaven and continues to reign as a resurrected man, still fully man and fully God. In Israel, one may see many graves and tombs. There is an ocean of tombs on the Mount of Olives, a vast sea of graves outside the eastern wall of the Temple Mount. You can see the tomb of David or the tomb of Absalom, but you won't find the tomb of Jesus anywhere. He is not there. As he said, reminded these women and all the disciples that they should have expected this. It was just as he promised. He said, what Jesus told you, it's exactly as he said. He wasn't lying to you. And I had to tell a customer something to that effect yesterday. I was told them I would get their issue resolved. They were mouthy to me, and I stayed with that person until their issues were resolved. I said, I told you I would get this resolved, didn't I? Then maybe you should trust me the next time. Listen to what I'm saying. You're all screaming at me, and I've already got your issue taken care of. The stone was not rolled away to let Jesus out. John 20:19 tells us that Jesus, in his resurrection body, could pass through material barriers. It was rolled away so that others could see in and be persuaded that Jesus Christ was raised from the dead. He was resurrected. The invitation to see the place where he lay is appropriately addressed to the same people who had watched the body being deposited. So there is no possibility of a mistake. Clark would write, come see the niche in which he was laid. It is now empty, nor was there any other body in the place, for the tomb was a new one, in which no man had ever been laid, as was written in John 19:41. So there could be no deception in this case. The fact of the resurrection is clear enough. We must also grapple with the meaning of the resurrection. Simply, Jesus' resurrection proved that his death was an actual propitiation for sin, and that the Father had accepted it as such. The cross was the payment, the resurrection the receipt, proving that payment was fully accepted. Spurgeon would write, "Those women were later grateful that the angel told them to see the place where they laid him. It should have been enough to merely hear the testimony of the angel. Nevertheless, when they saw it, it gave them ground to stand on even more solid than the testimony of the angel. One eyewitness is better than 20 ear witnesses. Men will believe what you have seen if they do not believe what men will believe what you have seen, even if they do not believe what you have heard." So an eyewitness is better than saying, "Well, I heard something. I saw it. I'm an eyewitness. I can tell you from a matter of fact, this happened." When we see the place where they laid him, we see that the Father did not forsake Jesus. We see the place where they laid him, we see that death is conquered. When we see the place where they laid him, we see that we have a living friend in Jesus. Moving on to verse 7. "And go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you." And they departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. The angel commanded them to be the first messengers of the good news of Jesus' resurrection. Since these women were some of the few of people courageous enough to publicly identify themselves with Jesus, it was an appropriate honor. And this is true. That, all his disciples forsook him or denied him, but the women did not. See, that's why I always like when people say, "Well, that the Bible is misogynist. It doesn't care about women. It's God chose them and said, look, it was these women who got the honor. It's them that stayed with Jesus to the end. It was them who got to spread the good news, not another person. These faithful ladies." Spurgeon would write, "Not first to them who were the heads of the gospel, as it were, but first of all to lowly women did the Lord appear, and the apostles themselves had to go to school to Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to learn this great truth. The Lord is risen indeed." When speaking about he is going into Galilee, this assured the women that they would see the resurrected Jesus. He wasn't simply raised from the dead, he was raised to continue his fellowship with them. Conceivably, the angel might have said, "He is risen and has ascended into heaven." That would have been better than knowing he was dead, but the truth was far better. He was risen, and risen to have continue a relationship with his disciples. The women, filled with fear and great joy, did exactly what the angel told them to do. He told them to go quickly, and they did. They ran. Saints running in the way of obedience are likely to be met by Jesus. Some Christians travel to heaven so slowly that they are overtaken by follies, or by faults, or by slumber, or by Satan. But he who is Christ's running footman shall meet his master while he is speeding on the way, as written by Spurgeon. In other words, when God wants us to do something, we should be quick to do it, before we start talking ourselves out of it. Thank you. And that concludes today's lesson.
Mariah and Malia are getting a baby brother in March.
Oh, wonderful.